Hey guys, my name's Echo Kellum. I play Curtis Hull, aka Mr. Terrific, on CW Arrow, and you're listening to Kneel Before Pod.
Kneel Before Blog presents Kneel Before Pod.
My name is Craig McKenzie, and in the year 2017 I host a podcast talking about nerdy things. To help me do this, I recruited a team to help me with my rambling. We span the entirety of the film-TV continuum to find topics to discuss. Please don't call us losers. We prefer the term Kneel Before Pod. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of our trip through the current seasons of the Arrowverse to date. I'm your host Craig McKenzie once again, and Chris is still with me discussing these shows. This time for the spoiler warning, Bebo will supply.
Bebo, hungry.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yay!
The fun one, as some people call it. Some people being me.
Legends have just properly embraced it. Oh hell, we can do what we want with this. We can just go as ridiculous and over the top. And I've got to admit, my confidence wavered a little bit at the beginning of this season, and then they've kind of won me back over, especially with the recent episode. You know, I just they've just kind of embraced the ridiculous of it and gone, why not?
Yeah, the first episode was not the best. I think it was, as we covered in some detail. The second episode onwards was much better, though. I really liked the circus bit. You know, Billy Zane is P.T. Barnum, and that's where you get the line about Titanic from Victor Garber. You know, whoever built that ship ought to be shot because it was him in the film. You know, that's funny. They've introduced a new character, Zari or Z. She's quite good. She's funnily enough, she's based on a character in the comic called Isis, which they've made some changes for obvious reasons. I loved the E.T. episode. I thought that was fantastic. So yeah, they've just leaned into the ridiculousness of it, even more so than they did last season. But they still have a heart there as well. You know, they've still got the character moments. They've still got. It's not too ridiculous, so there's enough to be invested in without it becoming too ridiculous. Because it's a thin line they walk. It could just be, this is just disposable nonsense. But it's not.
No, they managed to tie it in and keep it grounded. The thing is, they wouldn't be able to be part of the Arrowverse and do the crossovers and anything like that if they went far too over the top.
Yeah. Because
then you go, well, these characters are now completely different from the universe that they came from. You just can't. I mean, as much as they've tweaked them somewhat from their origins, they've not gone too far, in my opinion. Yeah.
The characters this season, I think they've all had a decent showing, except Nate. I hate that guy. Honestly, hate that guy. I don't even know why. I just don't like him.
Yeah, it's just you. I don't understand your deep hate. I mean, I just think he's not been given a fair crack, really, on this. He's one of these characters that I just don't think the writers like for whatever reason. They don't seem to use him very well when they give him lines. They seem to give him really rubbish jokes to fire, and you're like, oh, it's like he's not getting a lot of love. And then, you know, you've got Ray's kind of Boy Scoutness, and I thought, well, if they're doing sort of Ray's the Boy Scout, you've got Mick the villain. So where do you put Nate in amongst all that? You've either got to team him up with one or the other, or do something with him. But he just seems to be all right, we've got a kind of history guy with us, so he can go, oh, well, this is what it's supposed to be, you know. Where the other shows have got a Felicity Cisco character, you know, they're like, in this show, they're like, well, we need the historian guy to explain the historian-y things. So in he comes, you know. Sort of, you know, we've already mentioned Stargate earlier on, but, you know, throw in the Daniel Jackson kind of character to come in and explain Greek mythology for us. So in this, you know, it's the exact same. You know, we need the history guy to go, well, actually, in proper history, this guy went and conquered Germany or conquered this land or whatever, you know. You know, there never was a god Bebo. So
there was a social networking site called Bebo, though. I remember it.
Memories.
Bebo. Yeah, Bebo the God of War. No.
Now resting nicely beside my space.
And I quite like the anachronism plot, and I like that it is connected to the team in some way, so every mission they've been on so far features some kind of alternate version of one of them, or has some other connection, such as Mick's dad being there, Ray's younger self, Stein's ancestor.
I hope they've come up with a good explanation for it, and it's not some sort of really rubbish explanation of just just is.
It almost feels like a bit of a Doctor Who setup, where you get about halfway through the season and the doctors say something like, "I've just noticed that we keep seeing the words bad wolf everywhere we go," or something like that. But the payoff of it will be, well, it'll be what it'll be. But I don't know. It feels like it hasn't been built up as anything that's supposed to be like, epic or revelatory. It's just something they've noticed, though.
Yeah, it's noticeable, and I suppose it's a nice way of playing about the characters in their past. Finding Mick with his father and all that kind of stuff has been quite neatly done. So yeah, it gives a way of exploring the characters' past and giving them all a little something to do per episode. I mean, I imagine we've already had a look at Ray, so I suppose at some point you might get you might give Nate something to do in one episode. You're going to get the Nate storyline.
Oh God, what's his younger self going to be like? Ugh, no.
They'll go opposite. They'll go for older self.
That's it, yeah. Well, and Amaya is dealing with her granddaughter, who hasn't been born yet, according to her. It may never be born if she never goes back. That's awkward. But so you've got all that, and I like that Mick realises that his dad isn't the guy that he knew him to be. He kind of saw the genesis of that, and it was Vietnam was what turned him into it, which is, it's a very obvious message, but it's also a very true message, I suppose, for a lot of people who saw that the person that came home from war isn't the person that left. It's the observation, the fact that Mick saw that was interesting. Ray realising that he was always a dweeb and was never popular. That was some revelation. And at the end, when the team all turned up in costume, being like, "We're Ray's friends." It's like, all right, this breaks the timeline somewhat, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then Mick's like, "And give us your candy." That was a great moment.
I've always, it's kind of a neat shot, but you do go back, and people that are listening to the Time Travel podcast, whenever that may happen, in the past, forward, present, or future, or forward, will know that we do talk about this, where you're going, well, the rules in Legends is definitely not constant. That has definitely been established now, unless at the end of this season they do something to repair everything that they've done and basically unwrite everything that's happened in this season, because they've interacted with their former selves now umpteen times, which I'm pretty sure in the first season was like the big no-no. You must not go anywhere near yourself. You mustn't do anything that could change what you do or where you go, and it has massive ramifications. And now they're passing each other notes, they're hanging out with each other, and the thing, the only way I can assume is that at the end of these things, after Ray has had the time of his life walking about with his new friends, they took him home a massive box of candy and then zapped his memory of the entire experience and walked off.
Yeah.
That's the only way they can kind of write it. And the fact that they've now got the sort of memory eraser kind of helps a little bit in tidying up messes in the background.
It does. Yeah, and the fact we've got Damien Dark back, I mean, it is kind of leaning on the Damien Dark villain because he is one of the best, but, it's easy to say, oh yeah, like, Damien Dark, they defeated him before, whatever, but then it's Damien Dark, and he's always entertaining. And his resurrection was fantastic, where he was just murdering people to the tune of Return of the Mac. That was excellent.
Yeah, but one of the best uses of Return of the Mac I've seen on screen. It was just absolutely nuts. And the character, I just can't get enough of him. It's just high camp and just proper pantomime, melodramatic villain thing. It's just
as Odin. That was brilliant.
You're thinking, God, they solved this problem pretty easily, and then suddenly, the crack of thunder, and there he is. You're going, oh, brilliant! This is what we've been waiting for. Now the fun begins.
Yeah.
It's
weird because the first couple of episodes they had that formula of so the legends do something, the Time Bureau step in to stop them, and now it's like they start to do something, and then Damien Dark shows up. It's it's pretty much replaced that formula.
Yeah. It either turns up it was Damien Dark all along, or he comes in at the end and goes, yeah, you were going to solve this, now I'm going to hold you up for just a little bit,
Yeah. And the whole Malice thing, I like that he's voiced by John Noble, because that's a good voice to have. I don't know what that is going to happen there, though. I think it's...
They keep building it up and building it up to be something sinister. The problem is, with the way that Legends is, the fact that they're having so much fun, and at the moment you've kind of got a pantomime villain running about. As much as he's doing quite sinister things, it's always done with that almost a wink to camera and a moustache twirl, and then in a puff of smoke he's gone.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to really switch up a gear if this is going to be a massive villain. It's either that, or it's going to have to be like a big bait and switch thing where he's been massively built up and feared and everything, and then it turns out he's actually a little bit, Damien Darkish when he appears. I don't know.
Well, he's another one of those trapped antagonists. He's trapped somewhere and needs to be released, and they're leaning into the magic this season as well. It's all magic-based stuff, which is fine. I'm keen. Damien Dark's enough for now. Depends what happens with Malice. He's just a voice at the moment, which could or may not be interesting. Who knows? Other villains, we've had Grodd in Vietnam. The problem with, I think it was weird that the most serious episode of the season was the Grodd episode, and they didn't use Grodd especially well. Although seeing the kind of picture of him destroying the Great Wall of China, that was cool. Mm-hmm. That was the most recent episode, not that same one. The villains are all right so far. I quite like. Is it Kuasa? Her name is Amaya's granddaughter.
Yes, with the sort of water powers type thing.
Yeah, she's pretty good. She's a good match for it. They're not really villains, but the Time Bureau are okay, because I like Agent Sharp, who's a match for Sarah, and when someone's a match for Sarah, you have to take notice.
I still think, as much as your prediction hasn't come true yet, and you haven't been able to bang your gong, it's seeming more likely every episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially now that she's kind of dropped in for a little bit to help her out.
And said that she doesn't care much about husbands. Translation, I am lesbian, and yeah. And they were
Sarah,
clearly flirting as well. Yeah. Whatever. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. In a time travel show, it's a matter of time. But it was good. I liked that. And I like the character, and they're good as kind of pseudo-antagonists here and there. I think the antagonism bit is gone because their Rip has kind of been a problem for the Time Bureau as well, even though he created it. His reckless mission to find out intel about Malice was, it was good, and you can see the benefits of that mission itself, and then he gets arrested by the organisation he created.
Yeah, well, it's the fact that he sort of gets flung out almost, and he's now in jail. Well, there's going to be a break him out of Time Bureau jail episode, isn't there?
Well, they're going to need him at some stage.
Prison heist type thing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is absolutely fine. I think it'll be good to have him Rip back, but I haven't missed him as such. Him turning up here and there is okay. Agent Sharp is interesting enough on her own. And obviously we've got the new character. The new newbie on the team is Z, who's from an apocalyptic future. It's only a few years in the future as well, where Argus has taken over. I have my issues with that timeline because they're talking about how they have to preserve the timeline, and the fact is Zari changing the past is considered a bad thing. However, that cannot be the future of the Arrowverse. It just can't be. I mean, it's what... we're 2017 now, so it's 8 years from now? That can't be how it turns out in 8 years, otherwise what's the point in anything that's happening in the other shows?
Argus have taken over the world, and it's all evil, and it's all
Metahumans are outlaws, and they're being hunted and put in concentration camps, and all this.
Yeah,
stuff.
I didn't look at the timeline that way actually, and how quickly that's supposed to turn round from now.
Well, it's the fact that no one's actively trying to prevent it. So the fact is, what could happen at the end of the season is Zari is this relic from a timeline that no longer happens. Because it shouldn't and it can't.
Mm.
So what happens is that timeline gets erased, but because she's flying around time and space, she stays. And maybe she goes to 2024 or whatever year it is, I think it is 2024, and then sees herself with her brother and her family and is happy, and it's like, I'm content to let this version of myself be happy. I'm going to continue on with you guys. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. It's not... See, the thing is, she's not a character that's wanting to go back to her time period in particular. It's not like, I loved where I was, so she's quite happy to tour about, isn't she?
And she's a loose cannon as well. Like, she takes Helen of Troy to Themyscira, which therefore establishes that Wonder Woman exists in the Arrowverse.
Yay!
Or at least her home does. But if that exists, she's got to exist. So Helen of Troy.
No, I did like low budget island, and everyone was like, the very underpopulated side of the island. However, they did manage to make it look, or even if they took plates or something from it, it looked very, very close to where they were.
Yeah, it was fine. It looked like the film one. I wonder why they just didn't use a still from the film or something, but I suppose visually it wouldn't have matched the look of Legends. But, it's good. It's good that it builds on the universe a bit, and I quite like that Zari's, she's all about finding loopholes. She tells Jax to find a loophole to try and save Martin's life. He fails, but the fact that he tries is important, because at least he's not like suddenly realising, I'm not going to bother with this, I understand what they're on about. It's the fact is, he went out on his own way and he tried. And
it's kind of a believable thing for the character to do, and that's why I liked it. It's like, I kind of knew that it wasn't going to come of anything, but I thought it is what Jax would do. He wouldn't take it lying down, he would go, right, we can stop this and we can save it, yeah.
Yeah. And that victory tour for Martin through his younger self was quite good. I really liked the conversation he had with Jax about how, when I die, I'll be 67. I've lived a full life. I've had adventures. I will have no regrets at that point. And it's the fact is, it's the same thing that older Martin was saying when he was about to give up his own life. So it's the idea. It brings it full circle in that way, and it makes it this thing that's okay. This sacrifice is meaningful. It's something he wouldn't regret. He wouldn't trade it for anything. And it adds a bit of weight to the bit in the crossover where he realises, you must know the date for one thing. Because do not open this letter until November 28th, 2017. So
you've got to assume that his memory has kind of faded a little bit, and he maybe doesn't know the exact date.
I think that he does. I think that he remembers it, because I haven't watched the scene again, but you could read into it at this point where he's like, we have to separate. This is it. This is what happens. This is how I'm supposed to die. And the fact is, he knows about it and then makes that sacrifice. It adds that extra dimension to that sequence as well.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like you say, I need to rewatch it and do that. Though, yeah. Though that episode just made me hoot the most when he gets the kids' bow and arrow and they put the arrow music over the back of it. It was one of my favourite things. They have done so much this season, however, that in particular just made me hoot with laughter. So well done. And this is where I like that everyone gets to play in the same sandbox. They get to take the mickey out of each other in that way.
Bebo hungry. He's hungry for war.
Yeah. Oh. That's, you're going to ask my highlights, and sadly it's going to be Bebo wanting war. Legally different Tickle Me Elmo on becoming a god, or Furby or whatever, becoming a god, yeah.
It's brilliant. Yeah, there's so many little moments like that. And it's what other characters, what's Sarah up to this season, other than flirting with Agent Sharp. She's becoming more secure in her role as a leader. She's kind of put the Damien Dark thing behind her, so she's a bit more objective than she was last season. Yeah, Sarah is always good. She's always capable, always kicking ass. Do love Sarah.
Yeah, no, I think she's done well. And when they first pitted her as captain, I thought, oh, well, this will just be a temporary thing. They'll bring her back and all that. But I quite like her as the sort of de facto leader of the group and rallying folk together. Despite the fact she's not got superpowers or whatever, she's just, kick-ass assassin. She's very neat. I like her placement there, and she seems to be suiting it.
Yeah, and she has the leadership chops as well. Of course.
Yes.
The whole thing about Amaya earlier in the season, where she was struggling to control her totem, I really liked that stuff, but it's been forgotten about. She went on a vision quest and she was fine after that. I mean, I thought that was going to come into play a bit more significantly, especially with all the other magical objects turning up.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's so many of these totems and things going about. How many are there? I mean, you can tell you've probably read all the things.
Yeah,
are there only three?
Yeah, there's there's three that we've seen. I think there's one for every element, so there'll be 5, I suppose. But we've seen the no, it's not just element. So Amaya's is the animal spirit one. There's the water totem, and it hasn't explicitly been stated, but you have to presume that Zari's is the wind one.
Yeah, this is me trying to work out the number of infinity stones there are and what they all mean. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I'm almost thinking that your future Legends team are all going to be wearing totems by the end of this. The number of totems to people is increasing.
Yeah, so I think there's an earth one somewhere.
You have the power to move mud. Congratulations.
Presumably a fire one. Maybe Jax could get that and be Firestorm again.
Oh, all right, okay. They seem to be passed down from generation to generation. It'd be awfully convenient for him to go home right now and for his granddad to turn up and go, I just happen to have this. Yeah. And now it's yours. Use it wisely.
Well, it could happen. I found this in the sock drawer. Maybe you want it. It would be just silly enough to work.
It's a Legends thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just happened to be in the sock drawer. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it'd be fine. I don't know. What other characters have we got? There are a lot. Mech is just kind of there to shoot a good one-liner here and there. Other than his father, he's not had an enormous amount of stuff. But I quite like that they seem to be leaning into the fact that he's a bit disgusting. Like the bit where it's he says he's going to the bathroom before going on a mission, and someone said, "Well, we're in a hurry. You better not be dropping a deuce." And then Ray says, "And if you do, flush." And the fact that he's drinking in every scene is weird, but
yeah, he is heavily alcoholic at this point.
Yeah. Rescue him during the crossover, and he's like, "You got beers?" And then, he's always drinking, and
he pretty much has Superman's liver.
I know.
I think that's it. I mean, as much as he's got his heat gun, I think his true power is the fact that he has Superman's liver.
Yeah, probably. Or Gideon just heals him every day.
He's just sitting there on the med bed getting healed every day. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I suppose so.
Although we do have a returning character, sort of, in the form of Leo Snart. He's good so far. I like that he's dynamic with Mick, and I like the fact that he was trying to hold Mick up to the standards of his counterpart, and then realised that you couldn't force him to be something that he wasn't. I like that.
Yes. It's I just like having him back. It's always quite neat. The fact that every time he comes back they do like a slight twist on the character is always quite good fun.
And the disturbing Martin Stein puppet that he had when he was trying to be the agony aunt.
The Stein puppet, and I was thinking, please don't show Jax with a Stein puppet. Don't show Jax. Why would he do that? Oh no, he did with the puppet. It just cuts him going, it's the puppet, isn't it? It's brilliant. What have you got to say to Martin Stein? And out comes this.
And Mick, and then Mick beats the crap out of it because he hates puppets, which then pays off at the end when he's the one that destroys people. Oh, that's great. Yeah, Leo being back is quite good. Obviously, he fills that hole. I think he is only there temporarily because Wentworth Miller has announced that he's not going to be appearing in the Arrowverse after whatever run of episodes he has. So I don't know if all those episodes are with Legends or whether he's going to migrate between shows here and there. He'll do a stint on Legends, a stint on Arrow, a stint on Flash, stint on maybe Supergirl. Why not? It's fine. I wish his boyfriend had come with him though, as in Ray. Although having two Rays on the same show would be really confusing.
Yeah, probably confusing. Though, I kind of liked him in the crossover, so I would like to see him again. And there is the chance that maybe he'll move over.
Series that he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the chance, because like we say, the Legends team seems to sort of mould and shape all the time. Yeah. Eventually they're going to run out of seats on the... until then. But
yeah, in the meantime, you can try and watch the CW Seed animated show about the Ray on Earth X. Freedom Fighters, I think it's called. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. Yeah, so... what would be your personal highlights of this season so far then? I mean, there's a lot to choose from.
There's lots of bits and pieces to choose from. A lot of what's coming to mind is from the recent episode, just because Bebo. We've already mentioned the sort of return of the Mac scene.
Yeah.
With Damien coming back, getting all his powers and being a bit badass. What else? Oh... You had I liked bits of the E.T. episode, the sort of mimicking of E.T., the bits with the bicycle and everything. Yeah. I thought was very funny with the baby Dominator and all that. Yeah.
Well, I loved the bit in that episode where it was everyone was so sure the Dominator was dangerous, the baby Dominator was going to grow up to be dangerous, and it was that whole thing about it's just as strong as it is when it's an adult or something like that. They had all that, and then the bit where the government agents were there and they were about to kill them, I suppose, and. Then they suddenly just started breaking out in the
show tunes.
The show tune, yeah. And it was the way that the Dominator was nodding its head back and forth, just as. Oh, it was so great. And then you had the E.T., the iconic shot, where I put the caption "E.T. phone lawyers." So that was all great stuff. I really liked that episode. It was just really charming to watch. The circus one I quite liked. Helen of Troy being sought after in Hollywood in the 30s. Was it the 20s? 20s or 30s?
Yeah, it was around about that, wasn't it? Yeah, I did like that she was a sort of Hollywood starlet, so everyone's trying to steal her away and causing war.
Yeah, that was a good one. I don't think they made as much grod as they could have, sadly, but. Strong season so far, very strong. It's just so much fun. So much fun with plenty of heart. So there we go. Any other sort of highlights for you, or lowlights, or...?
No, I think that's it. I mean, lowlights for me is the kind of rule thing. And still a bit of that plays in the back of my head, going, what are the rules regarding time travel? They broke time by doing one thing, but I don't understand how that was worse than what they've now been marching about doing in the meantime. So it's it's already broken, we can't break it any further, let's just do what we want, why not? Yeah, but apart from that, It is what it is. It's a lot of fun. They sort of don't take it too seriously, in which case I can't really criticise it too seriously, because at the end of the day it's it's what it is.
Yeah. So now we can go into our final show, Arrow. Which is the very first one, although it's the one we're talking about last, mostly because it's on last. In the week. Season 6. I quite like it so far, myself. I think they're doing good stuff with the characters. There's a lot of potential in some of the things they've been doing that they maybe not quite reached or haven't taken full advantage of. And there's a real sense of that the writers don't know what to do with this season. They've got a collection of villains that on their own aren't that interesting, but when together they're also not that interesting. So I don't know where they're going with that. But I'm enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I kind of like the direction they've taken it. They've managed to make it feel different. It must be difficult for the Arrow writers when you consider how long the show's been running to go, we've got to do something that we've not done, we've got to change it up a little, and they've managed to do that with neat elements, making Oliver a dad. You know, they've still kept the sort of mayor side going. They've got the team running and him not being the Green Arrow and a bit of that. Then they've brought in the lawyers and everything to try and sue him, with the FBI or whatever the hell it is that's trying to sue him at the moment. So, yeah, I think they've done quite a good job of rocking the boat a little bit and making it uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, they have, I think. And I quite like the idea that he could maybe hang up his hood and give up, or not give up, but pass on the mantle. Because at the end of the day, he is a human being, right? So he can't do this forever. They'll get to a point where his body just can't take it anymore, you know. And the fact is, Stephen Amell, he's in probably the best shape of his life at the moment, but he ain't getting any younger, and the stunts are taking their toll. And it's interesting how, I mean, it was played off as a joke, but during the crossover, Oliver said that he would get down on one knee, but he's kind of sore from the ninjas. And it's these like the physical strain of being Green Arrow must be starting to rear its ugly head. So passing it on to Diggle is a good idea because it's a man that he trusts with everything. And you've got this whole thing about he does it to service his son, you know, give his son a peace of mind that his dad's not going to be dead by the time he wakes up, especially after all the losses that he's endured. Fine. And the fact is, Diggle has always been in that kind of life. He's used to putting his life in danger one way or another. And the fact is, if you just play the numbers game, his son has 2 parents. Oliver's son only has 1. So it kind of works in that sense. But also quite like the idea that Arrow is this show where you can still have the main character out of costume, but still in the show. And you can still have the Green Arrow side of it as well. It would show a sign of maturity. You know, the fact is, this thing can move on, and we still have enough confidence in our ability to write this show to find something to do with these characters.
It's a very gradual way of sort of passing the baton on,
yeah,
and quite a natural, occurring way to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure, I mean, I don't know how many of the comics and stuff you read, but is there like a successor to Green Arrow that's supposed to come in at some point or not? No.
I mean, the closest would be Roy, who was his sidekick. And, you know, we know what happened to Roy, I suppose, but he's not been back yet.
He's on a retreat with Wally.
Hi, he is. Well, he's believed dead, I think, so he's in hiding somewhere. But the thing is, the idea of passing a mantle on to someone else, and Arrow has a cast that's strong enough to do it. I mean, I always thought that if ever it got to the point where Stephen Amell just thought he couldn't be arsed with this anymore, that Thea would be a good stand-in. You could frame a show around Thea very easily, I think. She's very strong as a character. Having her missing for most of the season, other than the most recent episode, is a bit of a shame, because I like Thea.
Yeah, it seems... I'm assuming there was either off-screen reasons or whatever that they had to take her out of action, or it was meant to be a bigger consequences of the island.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
there was a bit of both, but I still have the feeling that the end of the whole island thing was a bit of a cop-out, to be honest.
Oh, it's almost been forgotten by now.
Yeah, I mean, it has been completely familiar, considering that was like the big peak and everyone was going, who's going to survive? Who's going to film it? I still have a massive gripe with them about going, oh, they all did. Okay, great.
Yeah.
You know, apart from William's mum, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's... I don't know. I mean, I think if Stephen Amell went, I'm not doing it anymore, it would wrap. Now, whether they're sitting there on the plot going, right, here is the exit plot and we're ready to deploy it whenever.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you know, let us know exactly when we need to start rolling this, because you'd like to think that they would give it a fitting end to the character and everything, rather than it just being and then it stopped.
Yeah.
You know, on a slightly open type thing. I don't know what they would do. Or they need to go to another Earth to see the Arrow team in a different era or something.
Or Oliver only turns up once a year for a crossover. Yeah.
The team's still working in the background, but you don't really see them, or you only get occasional cameos in other shows, be it Legends or Flash or whatever. Yeah, I suppose that would maybe work.
Yeah. And as much as I liked the passing of the mantle story, I think it was a good idea. I didn't like Diggle's injury plot because I wasn't sure what they were going for. Is it physical or is it psychological? It's both, and also neither. So that's the problem. Then you have this whole thing about him buying drugs because he feels overwhelmed, and they do this manufacturing a reason for Oliver to be disappointed in him for a while. It's all a bit wishy-washy, really.
But it was also solved almost in the exact way where I said, surely you would go to Curtis, the man that has made a crippled woman walk, to sort out your shaky hand problem. You wouldn't go, I am going to find a drug dealer. You would go, Curtis, buddy, don't know if you mind keeping this between us for just now, but I've got this problem and I need a hand. You know, I don't know.
Dinah knows because she knows for some reason.
Dinah knows because she's put two and two together, and at this point you're like, well, others would. And that team, and Diggle especially, have always been quite open. People have had the odd secrets, but normally they've basically shared them within an episode, you know. Yeah. You see them going behind someone's back or doing something a bit secret in one episode, and the next episode it's either discovered or they've pulled already. And it seemed a bit surprising for Diggle to be the one that's sort of keeping all that back. But
yeah. I like what they're doing with Dinah this season. I think she's really good. Finding her niche. She's very confident, she's very competent. She's all of those words that begin with C, apart from the naughty ones. So, I like Dinah. She's carving her own little path through the team.
She also gives you the required access to the police department that you don't have anymore now that Quentin's in the mayor's office. Right. So, you know, although it gives them a little in there.
Oliver essentially owns the police because he's mayor, so I think that's okay.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I like Dinah.
Yeah, good character. I like what they've been sort of playing about with her, especially when everything's sort of come to head in quite a natural way in this recent episode.
Well,
they've kind of been building up.
We'll kind of get on to that, but the whole vigilante reveal. So the reveal of Vigilante's identity, and it was like, instead of it was being teased for a while. Last season it was being teased, and it was very obviously the same guy that turned out to be Prometheus voicing him. But now it's just, oh yeah, he's Dinah's ex-boyfriend, who she believed dead, and it's the impact is felt for her. Fine. So she's cut up about it. She can't believe that someone that she cared about can be this thing. You know, she's thrown through the ringer because someone she thought was dead is now not dead. Again, all great, but for us as the audience, it's like, who the hell is this guy? And why did you make me wait to see his face for so long?
They do that quite a lot, though. There's always bits where it's like, oh, how many episodes back have I got to go? How many seasons have I got to go back to remember who this guy is now? I've seen so many of these villains, especially in a show like Arrow that has got such a back catalogue of people that have vanished without a trace / not quite been confirmed dead, that, you know, even in the recent episode at the end, you get 4 or 5 people all lined up, and I'm going, which one's he again? I can't remember which one he is. Is he meant to be the villain? He's a villain as well, but is that a villain I was expecting? I don't know. I can't remember. Do I know him already? No idea. and like you say, it's the same thing when someone sort of takes off their mask, and I spend a good 5 minutes going, who's he? And that's when you really need a really obvious, oh my god, it's insert name of character. Yeah. And you go, right, excellent. I can write that down. Now I know.
But the thing is, like, I have no problem with the reveal itself. I think it's really good to give it a personal connection to Dinah rather than everybody being personally connected to Oliver. You know, it's so it gives her some stake, some skin in the game, and then, but for us as the audience, it's like, what? Okay, the reveal means nothing to us. What would have maybe been better is if they had revealed him last season, and then you had, for whatever reason, Dinah not finding out until now. So then you've got this thing that's hanging over. It's like, well, wait till she finds out about this. And it could have caused a little bit of friction between her and the team as well. You know, with who was keeping it from her, for instance. Maybe Diggle kept it from her. I don't know. But it is what it is. And I think that the impact is somewhat lost because it just doesn't land as well as it should because we don't know who that guy is. Really.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah. What else is going on? Curtis and Felicity's startup. They're calling it Helix for some reason. Although I thought it was funny when they were going to call it the name of an established company. Like the Oracle name was workshopped, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like, they're already kind of big, by the way.
I wasn't sure about it. It was one of these things. It was like, oh, we need to give Felicity and Curtis something to do, and it does kind of make sense that the two of them would go into tech together.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the whole thing of the payoff is going to be now that there's a bit of friction in the team and Curtis isn't on the team, but he's still wanting to be involved in the business. Is that going to come to a head in some way? I don't know.
Maybe.
It's and to call it Helix after the sort of big hackers that tried to. Do you think why would you pick that name? Why would you go for that? No.
And on Felicity, I mean, the fact is you've got the whole Oliver-Felicity relationship, which is back up and running again, which, boring. At least it's not filled with angst so far. They seem to have gone straight from they seem to have skipped through that, and they're just happy with, being pseudo-parents, for example. So you've got Oliver and Felicity, who are both being a parent to William, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of like the fact that they've sort of struck up a parent dynamic quite quickly, which has worked really well. I like the fact that the relationship kind of got back on an even keel without it being too long and drawn out. The fact that they decided to just do a nice rapid wedding without any of the, who are we going to invite? And we've got to book a venue. And we've got to, oh my God. It was like, thank God we didn't have to go through that. And they pretty much skipped right to having a party when they went to the next episode, the sort of post-wedding party. I was like, okay, great. They've dealt with it. They've done the scene. It's done. On we go, So, yeah, I kind of like they did that.
And I actually quite liked the wedding reception because it was a good little nice character beat, and they kind of earned it a little bit. It's okay, it was. I'm not hugely invested in the relationship as such, but it's less offensive to me than the Iris Barry relationship.
Yes.
So Oliver and Felicity are back together. Felicity's not really had much of her own stuff to do this season as such, other than kind of supporting that. And being on Team Arrow and being sort of Diggle's second, I suppose, until later on. Renee really hasn't had a lot to do either.
Up until recently,
Curtis, same kind of deal on his own. Not an awful lot to do. So yeah, they seem to be shifting the focus here and there, which is fine. Like giving Dinah a bit of focus. It's a big cast, so it's difficult to get everyone in all the time. Quentin's back and forth on his feelings about evil Laurel. I quite like that. The fact that he's like, I know she's not my daughter, but she's totally my daughter. That I like that stance that he has on that, and especially in the most recent episode where they have that moment where they realise actually we're not that different, and our lives are more similar than we both care to admit. That's good, and Paul Blackthorne nails it every time.
Definitely, no. Can't argue.
On to the villains for the season. I like that the writers acknowledge that none of the villains are good enough on their own to carry a season. So, like, Caden James is good because he's Michael Emerson, and Michael Emerson is just that character actor. He's a very good character actor. The others come and go. I mean, I like Evil Laurel. Not enough to carry a season on her own. She's an antagonist of sorts, but they're all like that, though. They're all like smaller pieces of a bigger puzzle, I suppose, and quite like, well, I mean, you've had the Legion of Doom and Legends, which was fun in its own way, but this is a bit different. It's essentially a cabal of street level bad guys. You've got a hacker, you've got a drug dealer, you have I suppose Laurel is the henchman woman person. And so
but I mean, it's kind of an inverse of the Arrow team itself.
Yeah.
You've kind of got a tech hacker that can work out in the background. You've got a couple of people that are quite good on the ground. You've got someone else to sort of corral some henchmen, and it works out. And I suppose in the same way that I said earlier on that it's not to it's a bit tricky sometimes when someone reveals their face and you're going, what season did I see them in?
Yeah.
With its back catalogue now, it's great that they are able to pull in different people and go, right, well, that was quite a good character and that ties in, especially when you've got someone like Anthony Antoli that ties in to Oliver's backstory, and then you've seen him in different bits, so you're like, okay, that sort of slots in quite well, and it just kind of it works in a little bit, and it's the benefit of them having this nice slow build to their universe.
Totally, yeah. What did you think of the 2 Deathstroke episodes? I was a fan. I mean, I think that there was a bit too much fat on them, so they were a bit more bloated than they probably should have been. But at the same time, Manu Bennett getting a storyline to himself was excellent, and you got to see him being super brutal throughout, and the kind of seeing how the Mirakuru took control of him after his return from Lian was really cool.
I really liked the little bit of backstory that they gave there. I liked them exploring the character. It gave Oliver an excuse to sort of be almost the Green Arrow again. You know, at that point, it was like he's under investigation and he can't do it in the city, so you're like, oh, he's over there doing it. It's kind. So it was a good way of tying all that in. But yeah, like you say, I liked them, actually. It was something different. And I think at this point you've got to go out there and do something different because people get bored of the same thing happening again and again and again and again. We're going to go to a warehouse space. You know, something's going to happen on a kind of street level, and then we're going to investigate, and then we're going to try and do something that's going to go wrong. Then eventually it's going to end up in a big warehouse, and we will succeed. However, the main villain will get away, and that's basically the base of every Arrow episode. So to go away and do something a bit different, albeit still in warehouses and still on a similar line, but to give it that bit more depth, I think was really neat. Yeah,
and and it almost plays out a bit like a backdoor pilot for a Deathstroke TV series in some ways. Although it does give the Slade character a bit of closure as well, as in by the end of it he realises that being Deathstroke isn't quite for him anymore, but which harkens back to his mention about can't live your life as two people forever. I thought his son was a bit limp. The actor playing his son was no match for Manu Bennett, but who is? So and the mirroring the father-son story between Oliver and Slade was a nice touch as well. You know, thanks for reminding me I'm a father. That was good. That was a good little moment.
Mm.
So yeah,
no, I
love Slade. Yeah. More Slade. I want to see more Slade. We may not for a while, but you know, especially with his appearance in Justice League. The most recent episode, this mid-season finale, had the characters split apart, split down the middle, 3-on-3. OTA and NTA, original Team Arrow and new Team Arrow. So yeah, I mean, you had this thing about someone on the team has betrayed you, and that's fine. Except I thought the loyalty was there that it was hard for me to stomach. The thing about Evelyn last season, because it's essentially the same thing. Evelyn was playing both sides. That made sense because she was the one that was always speaking out against Oliver. But everyone seems pretty happy with their position at this point. So the idea that one of them could betray them, it was shocking, and I suppose it was supposed to be. And having it kind of frame itself around, well, so here's Curtis, here's why he might be the traitor, and Dinah's running off to see her ex-boyfriend who she thought was dead. Again, she's keeping secrets, that's suspicious. And Renee's like, I love being on Team Arrow. I can't imagine being anywhere else. So it's, in retrospect, it sounds obvious, but I didn't see it coming.
I didn't, and it was, I'm not going to say it was a pleasant surprise, that's the wrong kind of word. It was pleasant to be surprised, yeah. I think. Because so many of these things are signposted miles and miles away. Like you say, last season, you get the person that's sort of biting back continually, like, oh, well, if anyone's going to sort of stab them in the back, there's the character. Yeah. Whereas with Renee, it was like you didn't really get any hint of it. In fact, there was no hint that there was a betrayal coming until that sort of text at the party thing going, oh, we've just found out someone's turned on you and it's someone that's on the team.
Yeah, and it does tie into the theme of family for the season. You know, you've got the kind of fathers and children type plot that's running through. So, you know, Diggle and his son, Oliver and his son, Quentin and his not quite daughter, and so on. You know, and Renee and his daughter is a thing that's been established for a while now. And the fact that Samantha, is it Samantha is her name's pronounced? The FBI woman. Yeah. The fact that she goes after him and strikes that nerve, that makes sense. It also solidifies my belief that she is working with Caden James. But the fact that she would go for that nerve makes sense.
I think potentially. She potentially is working knowingly for Caden James. I would say that she's unwittingly getting information from him and being manipulated in some way to do that. So being fed information as and when necessary to cause disruption.
Yeah.
But not being given, obviously, the full shooting match. She's just being fed little tidbits, and then they're leaving her to work out the rest by herself.
But then you get extra bits added to it, such as, you've been spying on us this whole time, which kind of comes from nowhere. And the fact is, you've had Oliver approaching an arc about being trusting people a bit more. The fact that that's not happening, he doesn't really trust people. He's been spying on them. He's been collecting information on them. Is a bit dubious as far as I'm concerned. And it exists just to get the team to split apart. Really, but
yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like they've been saying, they've been surveilling them all the time. It seems like they only activated the surveillance once they knew there was a traitor. But does it really come surprising that they would be keeping tabs on people?
I think it would, considering the level of trust that's been built up in the meantime. I mean, they've always had reason to trust Curtis. They've always had reason to trust Dinah. Until recently, and Renee, well, he is painfully obvious.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is with Curtis, I wouldn't really call him new Team Arrow, because he was kind of on the team before he was out there in the field, if you know what I mean. So I was kind of surprised with the Curtis side, but with the others, yeah, I suppose so. Maybe he shouldn't have.
And I reckon we'll get secondary Team Arrow in January for a bit, until they all kiss and make up, which will happen. They need to be united against a small group of not quite threatening villains. It's fine though.
Could be.
Yeah. We've kind of covered the main thrust of the season so far. Really, I mean, it's been almost kind of uneventful in some way. They've had a couple of things that they've been driving at, but there's not been an awful lot of movement on all of it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a bit. It's kind of slow, and in some ways the slowness is working, and in some ways it kind of isn't. But what have been your highlights of the show so far?
Highlights. Lowlights. As an IT networks guy, the whole internet coming down to one server in one box in one place in Fenway was a particular lowlight of mine that had me swearing at the television, which I can imagine. Yeah, even like the most non-technical person would go, the internet is not one server in one room in one box.
And it's a bloody warehouse in Starling City, or Star City.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. That particular bit had me going, oh, hang on. And I'm sure there's doctors and stuff that watch TV all the time going, they would not cure it like that. But as an IT person, I'm going, no, you can't have this.
What about that line from Felicity where someone, I think it's what's his name? I think it's Renee that says, this place is big. And she says, it would have to be to hold the entire internet.
Yes,
it's like the box in the IT crowd, isn't it?
Yes,
so
with the sort of blinking light on, going, "This is the internet." Why is there no cables in it? Yeah. It's wireless.
And it's what we've talked about before. Team Arrow bringing down nukes, right? Bit above their pay grade. Team Arrow saving the entire internet, kind of above their pay grade as well.
Yeah, I was more expecting it to turn into a PSA going, you can save the internet too, support net neutrality, something like that to pop up at the end just to explain, explain why they had done this. Oh, the entire internet's at stake. And you're going, no, it bloody isn't. I suppose on a serious note, bits I disliked, that is tough. I've not really liked the investigation, the way the FBI investigation thing's been getting handled so far. It seemed really clunky and just not very slick, the whole sort of taking people in one by one. He doesn't really get arrested until partway through, and then he gets bailed, and you're like, he'd be arrested way before now if you had the evidence that you've got. So...
Yeah, use your seed money for or angel investment money.
Your angel investment money is just being used for things. So what happens to the business now that you've decided to do that? I just there's bits of it that I'm like, hang on, if this is meant to be properly under investigation, and I kind of get the fact that she's kind of being a bit dirty in the way that she's trying to get him, but you're also going, well, she would have him arrested by now. This would be this would all be in and done. It wouldn't be this drawn out a process, and he also wouldn't be getting to run about and disappear off to foreign lands to appear as not quite the Arrow over there. His passport would already be away. But I suppose suspension of disbelief and everything, you just go, all right, go with it. But I've not been kind of enjoying it. I'm hoping it plays out a little bit better. But, we've got the potential of sitting there watching a trial happening in Flash and a trial happening in Arrow at the same time. So, as long as they stagger them a little bit, I don't know if I can do Law and Order Arrowverse for too long.
A couple of Sarah's brought in as a witness, as a character witness. I've not been too crazy about the investigation either, because it just kind of fades into the background until it doesn't. My favourite things, I like Oliver's relationship with William, the way that's building. Having Thea back, she had a really good moment with Oliver in the latest episode. Although the dialogue was a bit clunky, it was a bit weird, but it was a nice little moment, I guess. Other stuff. The Diggle as Green Arrow, even though I'm not crazy about the injury, I've quite enjoyed it. Although it's clear that they can't be wearing the same costume. I mean, Diggle is like much broader in the shoulders than Oliver is. Does someone have to let it in and whatever? But okay.
Oh, it's Cisco. Cisco's essentially the Edna Mode of the Arrowverse, isn't he? It's like everyone goes to him for their outfits.
Yeah. Also, absolutely love it whenever they're going to do they're on a time-sensitive mission, and everyone's like, and Diggle's like, right, we need to go stop this warehouse robbery, suit up, and then the next time you see Curtis, he's got his hair all, like, braided.
Here's braided, the face paint on. Here's braided, the face paint's on. He's got all that sorted, and then sometimes by the time he's in the lift, he's undone the face paint, but he's not quite bothered with the hair yet, and you're, hang on, and it's like...
Yeah. Although I like Curtis. I like Evil Laurel. I think she's quite a good antagonist. Katie Cassidy is much better suited in that role than she is in anywhere else. She was as Laurel, as regular Laurel. Well, I liked regular Laurel, so I liked Deathstroke. So yeah, I've liked the season. It's just there's not an awful lot going on, or there's a lot going on, but it's not moving very quickly, I suppose. But it's good. It's a good show. It's better than The Flash this season, I would say. So yeah.
Oh, I would agree, definitely.
I mean, I don't really have anything else on Arrow, so unless you do, we could get on to the wrapping up portion.
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Well, as a final question, well, it might not be the final question. One of the final questions: rank the Arrowverse shows that you're watching from worst to best.
Oh, nice surprise question. You didn't put that on the prep.
I did not.
And there's a surprise for the audience. Yes, there's prep.
What audience?
What audience? Hello. Right. Okay, on a 1 to... Okay, so 1 Arrow, 2 Legends, 3 Supergirl, 4 Flash. There you go.
Was that best to worst or worst to best?
It was best to worst, I think. Arrow and Legends are kind of close, but for different things. So right. I think you could interchange either of them at the top for me.
Cool. Well, for me, I've got The Flash is the worst of the 4. I'm not saying it's the worst, it's just of the 4. Arrow is second. Then I've got Supergirl, which is, in second place. And first place is Legends. So there's my ranking. For anyone that cares, that's the ranking. There's only so many combinations, right? So
there's only 4. There's only 4 combinations. Like I say, Arrow and Legends are kind of level pegging, and they're both good in different ways. And I kind of think it depends on your mood when you're watching either of these as well. If you're in a kind of silly mood, an episode of Legends will definitely win over Arrow, and then other times, Arrow works.
And it depends on the episode week to week, but that's just my general feeling on the 9 episodes or 8 episodes as a whole. So there we go. That was that. A ranking. People like scores on the doors. So we have some scores on the doors.
And very nice doors they are too.
Yes. So on that note, I will open a breach and send you back to your Earth. So thank you very much for joining for this extended hiatus podcast that took almost as long as the hiatus itself.
Yeah, almost. I remember the prep sheet, something along the line of a quick discussion about each program.
There's never a quick discussion. This is Neil Before Pod, damn it. We never have a quick discussion.
So if you've made it this far, congratulations. You deserve a rosette. Thanks very much for having me on, Craig. Appreciate it.
You are welcome. Now, off to your Earth with you. That was our extended discussion of the Arrowverse mid-season break. Once again, thanks to YouTuber nstens1117 for the supplied music. If you like what you heard, then hit that subscribe button in iTunes, YouTube, or any major podcasting app, and join us on the next Neil Before Pod.